Imagine stepping into a car with no driver, maybe on your next trip into the city, or even for that daily commute, whisking you away at the tap of an app. What once felt like pure science fiction is now becoming a street-level reality, and it's happening faster than many expected. Today, we're taking a deep dive into your sources, looking at the very cutting edge of autonomous transportation, focusing on a company that often sparks both awe and, well, intense debate. Tesla.
Indeed, it's a pivotal moment, truly. We've watched robotaxis evolve from these, grand pronouncements and futuristic concepts to actual, tangible, real-world deployment on our streets. Our mission today is to really unpack the significant strides Tesla has made with its robotaxi service, particularly its launch down in Austin, Texas. We'll critically examine the bold claims around safety, especially that fascinating and frankly ambitious idea of being 10 times better than a human driver. We'll also see how Tesla's unique vision-only approach stacks up against its rivals. We'll be drawing from detailed articles and the latest industry analyses, to help you cut through the hype and truly understand what's unfolding on America's roads.
Exactly. And by the end of this deep dive, you'll not only understand the tech and timelines, but also grasp the real challenges, the mind-boggling scale of the safety debate, and precisely what this all means for how we navigate the world tomorrow. Let's start by grounding ourselves in the concrete reality of Tesla's Austin launch, because that's where the rubber truly meets the road. Okay, let's start with the big moment. After years of anticipation, countless promises, and, yeah, a fair share of skepticism, Tesla's robo-taxi service, powered by its full self-driving, or FSD, software, it officially transitioned from concept to real-world deployment. The specific date, the one that marks this new chapter, that was June 22, 2025, right there in Austin, Texas.
Right. And it kicked off, well, as you might expect from Tesla, it was an exclusive invite-only beta. Imagine getting that email like a golden ticket for a select group of hardcore Tesla fans and shareholders. They were the first ones.
The first to experience this futuristic ride.
Right.
Yeah. Stepping into a vehicle that was, for all intents and purposes, driving itself. And in a classic Tesla move, it came with that memorable, almost symbolic pricing. Just $4.20 per ride.
Yeah, that $4.20, it's almost a wink to internet culture, isn't it? But it also cleverly positions the service as this affordable, almost novelty experience during these early days. It helps lower the barrier to entry and encourages those early, evangelist users, the ones who are maybe more forgiving of any nascent system's quirks.
Totally. But what's really interesting here, I think, is the safety buffer they put in place. These early rides still had human safety monitors, right, seated conspicuously in the passenger seat.
And their role was crucial, but intentionally limited. They were there to oversee trips. They held limited override controls, ready to intervene if necessary. But what's absolutely vital to grasp is that they do not actively drive.
Right. They're not driving.
This design choice really underscores Tesla's profound confidence in its vision-only approach, even during this early adoption phase.
Yeah, it's a fascinating blend. Ambition, you know, publicly showcasing the tech, but also pragmatism, acknowledging the need for a safety net, a phased approach before going fully driverless.
What's illuminating here is that this cautious, invite-only approach really highlights a strategic balancing act by Tesla. On one hand, they are demonstrably flexing their technological capabilities in a real-world, albeit controlled, environment. It's about proving the system works, generating excitement, gathering that critical data. On the other hand, they are meticulously managing public perception. By starting with a select group, they're trying to ensure early positive experiences, minimize potential negative incidents that could erode public trust too early.
That makes sense. Control the narrative early on.
Exactly. And the symbolic pricing, the $4.20, while it has its cultural nod, it also serves a very practical purpose. It lets them test the commercial viability, the operational flow, without committing to a high-stakes full commercial launch too soon.
Good point.
And the very presence of a human monitor, even one who isn't actively driving, provides this invaluable psychological reassurance to these initial riders. It's a clear signal to both the public and regulators that safety remains paramount, despite the bold autonomy claims. This incremental public exposure is absolutely key. Build confidence, refine the system with real feedback, and ultimately pave the way for wider acceptance. It's classic Tesla. Big ambition, calculated early steps. But the really striking thing, I think, is the sheer speed of expansion post-launch. Tesla isn't just dipping a toe in here.
Wow.
They're rapidly scaling up their footprint, which is just a core, non-negotiable part of their long-term strategy for market dominance. Just a couple of months after the Austin launch, on August 27, Tesla announced the Robotaxi fleet there had grown by a significant 50%.
50% in just 2 months.
Yeah. Now, while the company typically remains secretive about exact raw numbers, they don't want to give away too much to competitors, industry watchers estimate the fleet started maybe in the dozens.
Okay, so maybe 50 cars, give or take?
Something like that. So a 50% increase means maybe 25 more cars out there. Gathering data, serving customers, that's a meaningful acceleration.
Definitely.
And crucially, these new vehicles aren't just being sourced from anywhere. They are now being funneled directly into the network from Giga Texas, their massive factory right there.
Ah, okay, so direct pipeline.
Exactly. This integrated manufacturing and deployment process, it enables a very efficient and rapid scale-up. They're not waiting for external suppliers or complex logistics. They make the cars. They put them right into service.
That's a huge advantage, like a built-in advantage over competitors without that manufacturing muscle.
It's a powerful, perhaps even unfair advantage, yeah.
And it's not just the number of vehicles, right? The sheer physical service area has seen phenomenal, almost dizzying growth.
Oh, absolutely.
But
What began as a modest 18-square-mile geofence in central Austin back on June 22
right? Pretty small.
now covers a staggering 173 square miles as of August 26.
173.
Yep.
Just think about that scale for a moment.
Uh-huh.
That's an astonishing 850% increase in just 65 days.
Wow. Okay, that's incredible expansion.
And to put that into perspective, competitively speaking, this makes Tesla's Robotaxi footprint in Austin larger than Waymo's operational coverage in both Austin and the San Francisco Bay Area combined.
Seriously, larger than both combined.
That's what the numbers suggest. It's a serious statement of intent.
No kidding.
And we've seen 3 major expansions since the initial launch, and they haven't been random. They've been very strategic. Each expansion has gradually incorporated denser traffic zones, more complex urban intersections, deliberately pushing the system into harder environments.
So they're actively seeking out the challenges.
It seems so. It isn't just about covering more ground. It's about rigorously testing and proving the system's capabilities in diverse, demanding scenarios, which is exactly what you need to do.
Right. Validate the system under pressure. This aggressive growth signals a strong intent for rapid market penetration, massive real-world data collection. But it also, inevitably, pushes the boundaries of what regulators and maybe the public might comfortably allow. Creates an interesting tension.
And beyond the physical rollout, the expanding map, the software powering these robotaxis is constantly evolving. With Elon Musk, as always, teasing some pretty significant advancements.
Always teasing.
So, Tesla's Robotaxi currently runs on its FSD version 13, but we're apparently on the cusp of a major leap. Version 14 is slated for release in September.
Right around the corner.
And according to Musk, this update will specifically address those rare but critical edge cases.
The things that keep engineers up at night.
Exactly. He's talked about things like multi-lane roundabouts, notoriously complex, navigating heavy rain, which messes with sensors, even dealing with erratic pedestrian behavior. These are huge challenges for any autonomous system. Successfully mastering them, that's a massive step.
Absolutely.
Musk also claims that the Austin Robotaxi build is, quite astonishingly, 6 months ahead of consumer FSD. He attributes this advanced driving behavior to end-to-end neural networks. Says they produce what he calls eerily human-like driving.
Eerily human-like. That's quite a claim.
Yeah, and he even teased that V14 feels sentient and uses 10x more parameters than previous versions. Now, for you, our listener, think of parameters like the number of adjustable knobs or weights in a massive complex math model.
More knobs, more complexity.
10 times more means the system has exponentially more internal complexity, more capacity to learn incredibly subtle patterns, allows it to better adapt to those nuanced, unpredictable situations, makes its decision-making feel much more sophisticated.
Makes sense. More data points to work with.
And on the rider experience side, Tesla's also been steadily upgrading the Robotaxi app. User-friendly features, things like media syncing, cabin climate presets, walking directions to pickup points, even editable destinations, all designed to make the experience smooth, intuitive, almost luxurious.
This relentless focus on resolving those tricky edge cases, achieving human-like driving, it's quite telling. It points directly to Tesla's core belief that a generalized AI approach, leveraging these incredibly powerful end-to-end neural networks, is the ultimate path to solving the complex, unpredictable scenarios of real-world driving.
Right, less hard-coded rules, more learning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're moving away from specific rules for every situation and instead empowering the system to learn and adapt, much like a human driver does, but hopefully, with superhuman consistency. The claim of eerily human-like behavior suggests confidence that the system isn't just safe, but also smooth, predictable, natural in its movements, which is vital, not just for rider comfort, but for public acceptance, for interacting harmoniously with human drivers.
Yeah, you don't want a jerky robot driver next to you.
Definitely not. And the app features, while they might seem like minor details, they're incredibly important for the overall user experience. Autonomous ride-hailing isn't just about getting from A to B without a driver. It's about providing a service that feels reliable, convenient, even enjoyable.
The whole package.
These app enhancements are strategically designed to make the Robotaxi experience feel less like an experimental beta and more like a fully mature premium service. This sophisticated user interface is critical for mass adoption because, ultimately people choose services that are effective and delightful and easy to use. The ambition here is clearly not just about the car driving itself, but about creating an entirely integrated, user-friendly mobility solution. #D, navigating regulations and future plans.
Okay, so the tech prowess, the rapid software iteration, that's one thing. But operating a service like this at scale requires navigating a really complex, often fragmented regulatory landscape.
Yeah, the red tape.
And Tesla has already cleared a significant hurdle in Texas, which is a key enabling step. On August 15, Tesla received a state operating permit in Texas, formally legitimizing the service beyond just trial runs.
Okay, so that's official permission to operate. Yes, but, and this is absolutely critical to clarify, this is a rideshare or transportation network company, TNC, license. It allows them to operate a ride-hailing service. It's not yet a full driverless green light, however.
Ah, okay. Important distinction.
Very. Separate DMV authorization will be required for truly driverless service under Texas's new AV framework, Senate Bill 2807, which becomes effective September 1st.
So they still need that separate okay to take the human monitor out.
Exactly. This permit allows for the supervised operations with the monitor, but there's still a clear regulatory step needed before they can remove the human element entirely. This layered approach reflects the cautious stance many states are taking.
Got it. So with that TNC license now partially in place in Texas, Tesla isn't shy about its expansion plans.
Not at all.
The San Francisco Bay Area is expected to follow within 1 to 2 months, pending regulatory approval there, which is, a notoriously challenging market, but also a hotbed for AV development.
Huge market.
Beyond that, cities like New York, Miami, and Las Vegas appear to be next in line, strongly hinted at by recent job postings for operations staff specifically in those cities.
Following the hiring trail.
Exactly. And Musk, in his characteristic style, has even made the bold prediction: robotaxi coverage for half of the U.S. population by year-end 2025.
Half the population by end of next year. That's ambitious.
Extremely. Many industry analysts express significant skepticism about that timeline, citing the inherent regulatory complexity, ongoing safety concerns that vary dramatically across states and cities. It's not a one-size-fits-all approval process. That patchwork of rules could easily become a serious bottleneck.
Absolutely. And this brings us to a critical piece of context regarding a crucial turning point for Tesla's autonomy program, which actually happened back in the spring of 2025.
Oh yeah, what happened then?
Elon Musk had been serving as a senior advisor and director of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, under President Trump.
Right, I remember that. DOGE.
He formally stepped down in late May after months of, political controversy around his role. What's truly fascinating is that within mere weeks of returning full-time to Tesla, refocusing his energies, Musk directly oversaw the June 22 Robotaxi launch.
Wow. So back to Tesla. Launched the Robotaxis.
It signaled a very clear, very public refocusing of his leadership, his intense attention on Tesla's core technical projects and product delivery. And since his return, the pace of progress has noticeably accelerated. Those Austin geofences ballooned, fleets grew rapidly, FSD V14 is on the cusp. His direct hands-on involvement seems evident.
So his return really lit a fire under the program.
It appears so. Now, that rapid regulatory approval for a TNC license in Texas is a key enabler, certainly. but scaling nationwide to half the U.S. population by year-end. Still an extraordinarily aggressive goal, likely constrained by both the tech's ultimate maturity for unsupervised operation and that very patchwork of state regulations we discussed.
Right, the tech and the bureaucracy.
But there's no denying that Musk's intense, hands-on involvement appears to be a major catalyst for this accelerated pace, injecting urgency, direct decision-making.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a little bit controversial. Elon Musk often makes these incredibly bold claims about the safety of Tesla's SSD, including the assertion that it will eventually be 10 times better than a human driver.
The famous 10x claim.
But what does that actually mean when you try to measure it in the real world? And how do you even begin to prove such a monumental claim?
Well, first off, for the upcoming FSD V14, Musk's most recent on-record guidance is actually slightly more tempered, though still very impressive. He's saying 2-3x safer than a human.
Okay, 2-3S, that's a big improvement, but yeah, still significantly shy of that full 10x target.
Exactly. He also, as we mentioned, teased that V14 feels sentient, uses 10x more parameters, hinting at its advanced capabilities. But the safety claim is the ultimate benchmark.
Right, so how do you measure safer?
To defensively compare something like 10 times safer, with any scientific rigor, you need two fundamental things: a very clear baseline metric and a matching operating domain. Meaning you can't just compare apples to oranges, you need to compare apples to very similar apples. The gold standard here involves rate-based and exposure-matched comparisons.
Okay, break that down.
Think about it. You need to compare crashes per mile, specifically on the same roads, at the same times of day, and under similar environmental conditions. Without that kind of precise matching, any comparison is inherently flawed, open to legitimate criticism.
Got it. Same conditions, same roads.
Right. Now, if we look at the broader regulatory and industry anchors, the national baseline for fatalities in the U.S. in 2023 was 1.26 deaths per 100 million vehicle miles traveled.
VMT. Okay, 1.26 per 100 million miles.
So for a robotaxi to be truly 10 times better than that national average, it would need to achieve an incredibly low rate of 0.126 deaths per 100 million VMT.
0.126?
It's an extremely difficult rate to measure quickly, precisely because fatalities are such rare events for human drivers to begin with. Makes the statistical validation for such a drastic improvement incredibly challenging and time-consuming.
That rarity makes perfect sense. It's like trying to prove a new medicine reduces a super rare disease. By 90%, you'd need a massive trial, right?
Exactly that.
So how do other companies like Waymo approach this kind of measurement? Do they have a more rigorous standard? And I guess, are there any common counter-arguments or criticisms leveled against Waymo's methodology or operating domains that we should be aware of? Just to be balanced.
That's a great critical question because transparency and methodology are everything here. Waymo generally provides a strong example of a more rigorous approach. They publish rider-only safety dashboards that directly match exposure to local human benchmarks.
Okay, local human benchmarks. What does that mean exactly?
It means they meticulously compare their performance against human drivers operating in the very same cities, on the very same types of roads, and under similar conditions. This isn't just a broad national average, it's a highly localized like-for-like comparison.
Okay, that sounds much more robust.
It is. Across 71 million driverless miles through March 2025, Waymo reports 78-88% lower severe injury airbag deployment crash rates compared to humans operating on those same streets.
78 to 88% lower. Okay, that's huge.
It translates to roughly 4.5x to 8.5x better than human drivers, depending on the specific outcome category being measured.
So getting into that ballpark, but not quite 10x across the board.
Not quite 10x yet, based on their public data for those categories. Now, regarding criticisms of Waymo, some analysts might point out that even with their extensive mileage, their operating domains, while expanding, are still relatively geographically constrained, primarily in sunny, predictable places like Phoenix or parts of California.
Right, less experience in, say, heavy snow or icy conditions.
Potentially. They haven't operated as extensively in those extreme weather conditions, which could potentially skew their safety stats if not carefully accounted for in broader comparisons. However, their commitment to exposure-matched data is what truly sets a high bar for rigor.
Gotcha. So let's put that 10x target into Waymo's numbers per million miles.
Okay. For any injury crashes where humans are involved in approximately 4.02 crashes per million miles in those specific areas Waymo operates, a 10x robotaxi target would be just 0.402.
Less than half an injury crash per million miles?
Right. For airbag deployment crashes, humans average about 1.67 per million miles. A 10x target drops to 0.167.
Even lower.
And for serious injury plus, crashes thankfully rarer at around 0.23 per million human miles. A 10x target dwindles to a minuscule 0.023.
Wow, okay, those numbers are tiny.
They are. And the core challenge here isn't just achieving 10x better safety, which itself is a monumental technical hurdle, but proving it. With robust, statistically significant, transparent data that stands up to intense scrutiny, especially when we're talking about extremely rare catastrophic events like fatalities. This level of granular data, direct comparison, that's what makes a safety claim truly defensible, and it's a very, very high bar to clear. And this leads us directly to that important, almost paradoxical question. Why is it so incredibly hard to statistically prove something is 10 times safer, even if, hypothetically, the tech is that much safer?
Yeah, the math of rarity, you called it.
Exactly. To statistically show a 10x improvement for crash types like any injury,
Yeah.
you need an immense amount of mileage just to accumulate enough evidence for a credible analysis. Imagine trying to prove something is 10 times safer if the event you're measuring, like a severe crash, only happens once every few million miles for a human driver.
Right.
You'd need 10 times that distance for a robotaxi just to expect one of those events. And to get enough data for statistical significance to prove it's not just luck, you'd need many, many more instances.
So you need lots of crashes, ironically, to prove you crash less.
Kind of, yeah. Or at least enough incidents across a vast number of miles. Let's really unpack those back-of-the-envelope calculations based on Waymo's benchmarks, just to illustrate the scale. For any injury crashes, if the 10x target is 0.402 per million miles, meaning we expect less than half an injury crash per million miles, you'd actually expect roughly 20 injury crashes every 50 million miles just to get enough data points for a confident analysis.
50 million miles
Yeah.
for one fleet just to start proving the any injury rate.
Roughly, yeah. That's a staggering amount of driving. For airbag deployment crashes, even rarer, more indicative of significant impact. With a 10x target of 0.167 per million miles, you'd need approximately 120 million miles to yield around 20 such events for statistical validation.
Over 100 million miles.
And for serious injury plus crashes, the rarest, most critical outcomes with that 10x target of 0.023 per million miles.
Yeah.
You'd need a truly mind-boggling, staggering 870 million miles to accumulate even about 20 events.
870 million. Nearly a billion miles. Just for serious injuries.
That's the scale we're talking about.
Wow, those numbers really put the challenge into perspective. It's almost like a catch-22, isn't it?
Yeah.
When we talk about statistical power, we're basically saying you need enough incidents, enough data points to be absolutely certain the observed reduction isn't just random chance.
Exactly.
It's a fascinating, almost frustrating paradox for the industry. The rarer the event, the more miles you need to prove you're making it even rarer. So essentially, even if a robotaxi never crashed, it would still take years, maybe decades, just to statistically prove it's 10x safer on fatalities, simply because those events are so incredibly rare for humans too.
Precisely. While real-world analyses are more complex, using sophisticated statistical models like confidence intervals, even more precise exposure matching, these figures powerfully illustrate the sheer scale of data required. The very rarity of severe crashes, which is what we ultimately want to reduce to near zero, makes it incredibly challenging to quickly and definitively prove a substantial safety improvement of 10x. This isn't just a Tesla problem or a Waymo problem. It's a fundamental hurdle for all AV companies. The industry is aiming for an almost impossibly low rate of catastrophic events. And proving such a low rate with scientific certainty requires an equally immense amount of real-world operational data that simply hasn't been accumulated by any single entity yet for every type of incident. It means that even if the technology is 10 times safer, it will take a very long time and an enormous amount of miles to definitively demonstrate that fact to the public and to regulators.
Okay, so given this monumental challenge of statistical proof, the math of rarity, how do Tesla's safety comparisons actually hold up when we consider these rigorous standards? And is Waymo, with its seemingly different approach to data, playing a fundamentally more transparent game? Or are there nuances we're missing?
This is truly where we see a significant divergence in methodology, and yeah, frankly, in transparency. Tesla's own safety comparisons often appear in their quarterly vehicle safety report. They frequently frame autopilot-engaged miles as being 10x safer than the U.S. average, citing stats like one crash every 7.4 million miles on autopilot versus a general U.S. average of around 0.67 million miles per crash.
Okay, on the surface, those numbers look incredibly compelling, right? 7.4 million versus 0.67 million.
They do. However, critics are quick to point out that this is often a significant apples to oranges comparison.
Why apples to oranges?
The core issue is that Tesla's autopilot system is primarily used on controlled access highways, which are inherently far less risky environments than the general U.S. average. That average includes much riskier city driving, complex intersections, unpredictable pedestrians, everything.
Ah, okay. So comparing highway driving to all driving isn't really fair.
Exactly. Comparing a system mostly used in low-risk, relatively structured scenarios to the overall national average can, and often does, artificially inflate the perceived safety claim. Recent commentary has also flagged regressions, methodology concerns with these reports, suggesting inconsistencies in how data is collected or presented, adds to the skepticism in the analytical community.
So it's not just about the raw numbers, but how they're collected, what they represent, and what they're compared against. It sounds like Waymo truly is taking a much more transparent, maybe more conservative approach.
Absolutely. Waymo's approach is widely considered much closer to the gold standard for safety claims within the industry. They publish exposure-matched human benchmarks,
Right, the local data.
meaning they meticulously use data from the same cities, same road types where their driverless vehicles operate, and they match it to human driving stats in those precise conditions. This allows them to demonstrate large, statistically significant reductions between 79% and 88% in key crash categories across their impressive 71 million driverless miles.
Okay, that sounds like proper science. Audited math, you said.
Pretty much. It provides a much more robust, verifiable data set that stands up to external scrutiny. It's a very conservative, data-driven approach that actively encourages public and academic review.
But even Waymo hasn't proven 10x on fatalities yet, right?
Yep.
Because they're too rare.
Exactly. Even with Waymo's extensive data, their impressive reductions, they haven't yet reached statistical power on fatalities alone. Fatalities are simply too rare, even across tens of millions of driverless miles, to definitively prove a 10x improvement quickly for the most severe outcomes. This single fact really illustrates the immense challenge facing any AV company making such a sweeping claim.
Okay, so what about the actual Tesla Robotaxi service in Austin? Where does that fit in?
Well, it's still in its very early stages. The rides are monitored human in the front passenger seat, providing that safety oversight. The service area, while expanding rapidly, is still limited to Austin. Critically, there is no public exposure-matched crash rate data set available for Tesla's robotaxi operation yet.
Not at all.
Not in the way Waymo publishes theirs. Without that rigorously collected, transparent, externally verifiable data, any bold 10x assertions regarding this specific service are simply not verifiable by external parties.
Got it. So the claim might be out there, but the proof isn't public yet for the robotaxi service itself.
Precisely. The difference in data transparency and methodology between Tesla and Waymo is stark right now. And it's a key factor in how rigorously their safety claims can be assessed by anyone outside the companies themselves.
Okay, this brings us to a truly fundamental clash of titans in the autonomous vehicle space. Tesla and Waymo. They represent two fundamentally different philosophies, almost like two opposing schools of thought, especially when it comes to the underlying tech and how they envision scaling up. On one side, we have Tesla Robotaxi, all about vision-only AI, a pure software play, right?
Indeed, Tesla's approach is quite radical in its purity. It relies solely on cameras, leveraging these visual inputs combined with an incredibly sophisticated end-to-end AI system. This means, crucially, no LiDAR, no radar arrays, at least not in the primary sensing and decision-making stack for FSD.
It's just cameras and the AI brain.
Essentially, yes. The clear, undeniable advantage of this strategy. It's inherently scalable and incredibly cost-efficient. Tesla effectively leverages its existing vehicle hardware, already produced in massive volumes for its consumer cars. And it aims for a generalized AI solution that can, in theory, operate anywhere a human driver can see. This means they don't have to add expensive, specialized sensors to every single car, drastically reduces the per-vehicle cost of the autonomous hardware. That's the core of their AI-first philosophy.
Okay. And then on the other side, we have Waymo One, taking a much more cautious, sensor-rich approach, almost the opposite.
That's right. Waymo, emerging from Google's long-standing self-driving car project, employs a truly comprehensive suite of sensors. Multiple LiDAR units, an array of radar sensors, numerous cameras, all strategically placed for 360-degree awareness.
Seeing in all directions with different sensor types.
Exactly. And this hardware is then heavily augmented by highly detailed, high-definition HD maps of its operational areas, creating a very precise digital understanding of the environment. This multimodal sensor fusion provides a very high degree of safety and redundancy. If one sensor type struggles, say in heavy fog where cameras might fail, the LiDAR and radar can still provide crucial data.
Built-in backup.
Right. However, this hardware-intensive approach comes at a significant cost. Industry estimates put the autonomous driving stack alone at over $100,000 per vehicle.
Whoa, 100K just for the AV stuff on top of the car.
That's the estimate. So it makes it substantially more expensive to deploy each individual unit, which in turn means it's typically slower to scale compared to Tesla's vision-only model. Each vehicle is a massive capital investment.
Okay, I see the trade-off.
This philosophical difference, Tesla's AI-first vision versus Waymo's sensor-first redundancy, is truly at the heart of the robotaxi race, defines their paths to market. Tesla prioritizes rapid, cost-effective scaling, a generalized, learning-based solution. Waymo emphasizes maximal safety and reliability from the outset, even if it means slower, more capital-intensive growth. #B, operational maturity and safety. Let's now really dig into where these two companies stand in terms of operational maturity and actual safety performance on the road. This is an area where Waymo currently holds a very significant demonstrable lead.
How so?
Waymo One has been operating fully driverless vehicles, meaning without human safety drivers, since 2020.
Since 2020, wow, okay.
They're operational in multiple major U.S. cities: Phoenix, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Austin. They even launched an NYC pilot in August 2025. They boast hundreds of vehicles in their fleet, roughly 250,000 weekly rides, and have logged that impressive 71 million rider-only miles through March 2025.
Huge numbers, lots of real-world experience.
Exactly. Their vehicles are known for assertive yet cautious driving. They've publicly reported 696 accidents between 2021-24, with a detailed breakdown of fault. Their long operational history in driverless mode gives them a wealth of real-world data, invaluable experience that no other company quite matches right now.
Okay. In stark contrast, then, Tesla Robotaxi is still in its very early stages.
Very early nascent stages. Their Austin beta only launched in June 2025. It remains invite only. And importantly, it is still strictly supervised with human monitors in the passenger seat.
Still got the safety driver, essentially.
Right. While the Bay Area is expected soon, this supervised model is a crucial distinction from Waymo's fully driverless ops. Tesla's own early sample data claims it is 12.7x safer than humans while supervised. But again, this is early internal data, no public exposure match scrutiny like we discussed.
And we've seen reports of early challenges too, haven't we?
We have. Early testers, including high-profile investors like ARK Invest's Cathie Wood, reported instances of failures in basic scenarios like lane merges fundamental to urban driving. Additionally, robotaxis have been observed stopping abruptly in traffic. Now, while this often prioritizes caution in uncertain situations,
Which you want, to some extent.
right, but it can undeniably frustrate human drivers behind them, disrupt traffic flow, and highlights areas where the system still needs significant refinement for smooth, human-compatible operation. Critics often argue Tesla has prioritized hype and optics over consistent reliability and a truly polished product in these early stages.
So hype versus reliability. An ongoing theme.
Precisely. The key takeaway here: Waymo currently dominates in maturity and safety benchmarks. Much longer operational history, far more extensive driverless miles logged, more robust public data. They have a track record of operating completely driverless for years. Tesla, while showing rapid iteration and an incredibly aggressive expansion with its supervised beta, is still very much in an early stage deployment. The difference between having a human safety monitor present, ready to take over, and operating completely driverless, it's monumental. In terms of regulatory approval, public trust, true system maturity, Waymo crossed that threshold years ago. Tesla is still very publicly working towards it, with everyone watching. #taxi, user experience and expansion.
Okay, beyond the tech, beyond the safety, the user experience and the sheer ambition for expansion are also key differentiators shaping this race. Looking at Tesla Robotaxi's user experience, it definitely stands out for that symbolic, attention-grabbing $4.20 slot fee.
Hard to forget that price point.
Right. It's not just a numerical nod, it's strategic. Creates buzz, makes the service incredibly accessible, intriguing to early adopters. Tesla has also been steadily upgrading its Robotaxi app. User-friendly features, media syncing, cabin climate presets, walking directions to pickup, even editable destinations, all contributing to a modern, convenient ride-hailing experience. Though, still refining things like precise drop-offs.
Absolutely. On the Waymo One side, you're looking at a generally more mature, more polished user experience. Having been operational longer in more cities, their app and service flow are well established. Years of refinement based on extensive user feedback.
Makes sense. More time in the market.
While their rides are generally pricier than Tesla's $4.20, reflecting those higher vehicle costs, their service is broadly accessible in their operational cities. No invite-only beta constraints. This maturity often translates to a more polished, predictable, reliable experience for riders who value consistency, a proven track record.
Okay, now expansion. Tesla has laid out incredibly aggressive plans. Musk predicting robotaxi coverage for half of the U.S. population by year-end 2025. Eventual global rollout is the vision.
Massive ambition.
And their scaling mechanism is particularly ambitious, revolutionary even, leveraging their massive installed base of 6 million plus existing Tesla EVs by 2026. The idea is allowing private owner cars to opt into the network, right? Creating this distributed, crowdsourced robotaxi fleet when owners aren't using their cars.
Exactly. This shared fleet model could compound their operational mileage exponentially at a fraction of the cost of building purpose-built vehicles. It's a potential game changer.
Huge potential leverage there. What about Waymo's expansion plans?
Waymo's plans, while also ambitious, are more indicative of a steady, measured growth strategy. They aim for 15-plus U.S. cities by 2026, solidifying their footprint incrementally, not attempting a rapid nationwide blitz. A major accelerator for Waymo's scale and a very shrewd strategic move is its Uber partnership.
Ah, right. Tapping into Uber's network.
Precisely. This collaboration lets Waymo integrate its driverless vehicles into Uber's massive existing ride-hailing network, bypasses the need to build a customer base from scratch, plugs directly into a well-oiled machine with millions of users.
Very smart. Leverage an existing platform.
So the analysis here. Tesla's low-cost, app-integrated model aims for mass market disruption on an unprecedented scale. But its ambitious expansion hinges heavily on rapid regulatory approval across diverse jurisdictions and the unproven scalability of integrating private owner cars into a commercial network. Waymo, conversely, leverages established partnerships, a more mature UX for controlled, steady growth, emphasizing reliability, a proven track record over sheer speed of rollout. Fundamentally different gambles on how to achieve widespread adoption and dominate the market. #D, challenges for each. Both companies, despite their distinct advantages and strategies, face significant hurdles that could determine their long-term success. For the Tesla Robotaxi, one of the probably most formidable challenges is regulatory skepticism.
The bureaucracy again.
It's not just showing the tech works, it's navigating this labyrinth of legal, bureaucratic hurdles that vary wildly state by state, city by city. Imagine trying to get permission for a new airline in every single state and then separately in every major city. That's roughly the scale of complexity.
Right.
Each jurisdiction has its own rules, its own anxieties about safety, its own political climate. Getting full driverless authorization, removing those human monitors, can be complex, lengthy, inconsistent. Like we saw with Texas, still requiring separate DMV authorization after the TNC permit. It's a slow grind, state by state, city by city. Definitely not as fast as deploying a software update.
Okay, regulation's a big one. What else for Tesla?
There's also the persistent perception of hype. Critics argue the company often prioritizes marketing, bold claims over consistent, proven reliability. That can impact public trust, especially when early incidents or hesitations occur. And finally, its camera-only, AI-first philosophy. While incredibly cost-efficient, elegant, it faces ongoing criticism for potential limitations. Adverse weather like heavy snow, dense fog, poor lighting. Truly complex edge cases where LiDAR or radar might offer superior perception, object classification, critical redundancy that cameras alone might struggle with. It's a fundamental debate in the AV world.
Right. Can cameras really see everything reliably? That's the question.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the flip side, Waymo 1. Despite its maturity, it also grapples with its own significant challenges.
Absolutely. Their biggest hurdle is undoubtedly slow scaling. That high cost of its sensor-rich hardware, over $100,000 per vehicle just for the AAV stack, makes it incredibly expensive to rapidly deploy a large fleet.
Yeah, that $100K figure is a killer for rapid growth.
It's a massive capital investment for every single vehicle. This hardware complexity, with its intricate array of LiDAR, radar, HD mapping, requires not only significant upfront investment, but also ongoing maintenance, calibration. Further limits rapid deployment. While it provides a robust, highly redundant system with demonstrable safety, it's not a model that lends itself to quickly populating millions of vehicles globally, due to those steep per-unit costs and logistical complexities.
Okay, so cost and complexity limit Waymo's speed.
Exactly. The implication here is that Tesla is essentially betting its future on AI generalization and cost effectiveness winning the long game. Believing cameras and advanced neural nets can eventually surpass human perception for a fraction of the hardware cost. Waymo, on the other hand, is betting on maximal safety and redundancy from day one, believing a multi-sensor approach provides the necessary robustness and reliability for truly driverless ops, even if it means a slower, more deliberate path to scale.
It's a high-stakes chess match.
Absolutely. And the next few moves could very well determine the future of urban mobility. These differing approaches are fundamentally different paths to the same goal, each with advantages and limitations. The market will ultimately decide which strategy proves more viable, gains broader acceptance and trust from both consumers and regulators.
And speaking of those next moves, it's not just the companies betting big. The analyst community is watching this battle closely, and their predictions are as varied as the strategies themselves.
So, looking forward, how do industry analysts actually see this playing out? Views are pretty divided, right?
Indeed, the analyst community offers a broad spectrum of opinions, which really highlights the dynamic, uncertain nature of this market. For instance, Morningstar, a respected research firm, projects that Tesla could surpass Waymo by the late 2020s.
Could surpass Waymo. But, and this is a crucial caveat, it's if Tesla successfully executes on its unique scale advantage. This perspective really values Tesla's ability to leverage its massive manufacturing, potentially its existing fleet, as a platform for robotaxi deployment. The assumption is if they make vision-only AI work reliably, their ability to scale will be unmatched.
Okay, so conditional on successful execution of their core strategy.
Exactly. And then you have ARK Invest, which has been a very vocal, almost evangelical champion of Tesla's vision, often presenting the most optimistic outlook.
Yeah, ARK is famously bullish on Tesla's AV approach.
That's right. ARK consistently champions Tesla's vision-first, camera-only model as potentially disruptive enough to fundamentally reshape urban transport economics globally. They often side with Tesla's long-term potential, believing its camera-only, AI-driven approach will ultimately be far more scalable, cost-effective than Waymo's hardware-heavy strategy, leading to much larger market share, a complete transformation of how we think about transportation.
So two very different forecasts there.
Yeah, these differing projections really highlight the inherent uncertainty, technological breakthroughs, shifting regulations, maybe most importantly, broad public acceptance. All play critical roles. It's not just about who has the best tech today, but who can adapt, learn, and scale most effectively into the future. #TechTadB near-term future by August 2026. Let's zoom in on what we might realistically expect over the next year. Looking ahead to August 2026. For Tesla, the potential for rapid expansion, if their current trajectory continues, is significant. They could reach 1 million plus weekly rides across maybe 5-10 U.S. cities.
1 million rides a week, wow.
And crucially, this would be a monumental step. They are projected to be running unsupervised in Austin and the Bay Area by this time.
Unsupervised, meaning no human safety monitors.
Exactly. That would signify a huge leap in confidence and regulatory trust. Their scaling strategy hinges on leveraging that massive installed base of 6 million plus Tesla EVs by 2026, integrating private owner cars into the network, compounding operational mileage and data collection very quickly. This would be a game changer if successfully implemented.
Okay, huge potential for Tesla if they hit those marks. And for Waymo, what does that near-term future, looking at just a year from now, realistically look like?
Waymo is expected to continue its steady, methodical expansion, building on its proven track record. They could expand to 15-plus cities, solidifying their safety credentials by continuing to log vast amounts of driverless miles, refining their operational playbooks.
More cities, more miles, steady growth.
Right. And a key part of their strategy for accelerating scale will be deepening their Uber integration, tapping into that massive ride-hailing user base without building demand from scratch. A very smart move to gain market share efficiently.
So the next year is really critical then. For Tesla to move beyond supervised testing, achieve real driverless ops in key markets, huge validation. Meanwhile, Waymo focuses on expanding its proven model into more cities, integrating deeper into existing platforms, aiming for consistent, reliable, widespread service.
Exactly. This period will be a crucial test for both their distinct strategies and their ability to execute. #TechTadC, longer-term outlook, by August 2027.
And if we look a bit further out, say to August 2027, the visions become even grander, the stakes even higher, as both companies envision a very different future. For Tesla, the ambition is truly global. By then, they may operate millions of vehicles globally.
Millions.
Continuing to leverage that owner opt-in model, the shared fleet idea, transforming individual vehicles into income-generating assets. We might also see the introduction of new purpose-built cybercabs vehicles designed from the ground up specifically for autonomous ride-hailing, not just adapted consumer cars, another huge step.
A dedicated robotaxi design, yeah. On the other hand, Waymo could realistically offer 1 million weekly rides across maybe 20 cities by August 2027. Significant expansion from current ops.
1 million rides, 20 cities.
Sure.
Still big growth.
Definitely. However, this is where their strategy might start to face scaling limits, due to that inherently high cost of their hardware-intensive approach. That estimated $100,000 plus per vehicle for the sensor suite mapping infrastructure. It means even with steady growth, careful capital deployment, the sheer investment required could cap their growth at a certain point, potentially preventing them from reaching the millions of vehicles globally scale Tesla envisions.
So cost could become a major limiting factor for Waymo's ultimate reach.
It's a very real possibility. This longer-term period will likely see a clearer divergence in how broadly each company can deploy, with cost efficiency and capital requirements being major, if not the major, factors in their respective market penetration and ultimate success. #D broader societal impact. Now, if both players, or even one of them, are successful in achieving these ambitious goals, the implications for society extend far beyond just ride-hailing convenience. This tech could fundamentally reshape how we live, work, even the physical layout of our cities.
How's that?
On the safety front, both players, if they achieve their stated aims of significantly outperforming human drivers, could dramatically reduce traffic fatalities by up to 90%.
90% reduction.
Imagine roads that are exponentially safer, where human error, the root cause of the vast majority of accidents, is largely removed from the equation. This would be a monumental shift in public health and safety, saving countless lives, preventing immeasurable suffering.
Wow. 90% reduction in fatalities. That's not just a statistic, that's a societal revolution.
Yeah.
It completely redefines the conversation from mere convenience to something profoundly life-altering. You're talking about saving hundreds of thousands of lives annually, preventing millions of injuries. It's almost hard to grasp that scale, isn't it? It truly redefines what a city could be like, what a family's life could be like.
Absolutely. Beyond safety, there's a significant economic shift that would ripple through society. Widespread robotaxi adoption could transform commuting economics, potentially making personal vehicle ownership far less necessary for many people, especially in dense urban areas where owning a car is already a financial burden.
Right. Cheaper, easier just to summon a robotaxi.
Think about all the costs. Purchase price, insurance, maintenance, fuel, parking fees, all potentially replaced by an on-demand, cost-effective robotaxi service. Pick you up, drop you off exactly where you need to be. This could also free up vast amounts of urban space currently dedicated to parking lots, garages.
All that wasted space.
Could be repurposed for much-needed housing, beautiful green spaces, other community resources, fundamentally changing the urban landscape.
So it's not just a technological revolution, but a social and economic one, too. Huge upsides, but also some serious questions that society will need to answer. Because if millions no longer own cars and no longer drive cars, that has profound implications for a whole sector of the workforce.
Precisely. This transformative power also brings substantial challenges we cannot overlook. Widespread robotaxi adoption will inevitably pressure governments to rethink labor transitions for displaced drivers.
Yeah, millions of drivers.
Yeah.
Uber, Lyft, taxis, delivery, trucking.
Exactly. The automation of these jobs represents a significant socioeconomic challenge. It will require careful foresight, robust policy frameworks, support systems to help these individuals transition into new roles in an evolving economy. The promise of autonomous vehicles is immense safety, efficiency, even environmental benefits through optimized routes, shared rides. However, the societal cost of job displacement, the need for new policy frameworks to manage these transitions, ensure equitable access, cannot be overlooked. It's a complex picture, far-reaching implications demanding careful consideration. #V is 10x within a year, plausible. #A, unlikely for broad urban driving.
Okay, so after all this deep dive, the tech, the strategies, the data, the societal impacts, let's revisit that big provocative question. Are we actually likely to see Tesla achieve 10 times better than a human across broad urban driving within the next year, say by August 2026?
In short, unlikely. And for two key reasons we've already touched on, but which bear reiterating because they are fundamental hurdles. First, achieving 10x is simply a huge leap. Even with the upcoming version 14, Musk's most recent guidance is 2-3x safer than a human. While that's an incredibly significant improvement, a testament to their engineering, it's still substantially shy of 10x across broad, diverse urban driving conditions.
Right. 2-3x is not 10x.
Not even close, relatively speaking. Even if a highly specialized, narrow operational design domain, ODD, like a specific, easy highway route in perfect weather, could occasionally hit 10x, sustaining that level of performance broadly across diverse, complex urban environments. With unpredictable traffic, erratic pedestrians, varied infrastructure, and all types of weather, that's a far, far more challenging proposition. The jump from 2-3x to 10x isn't incremental, it's exponential in difficulty. Demands near-perfect perception, decision-making in every conceivable scenario.
And then there's the statistical challenge, that math of rarity we dug into, which seems to present almost an impossible task for quick validation.
Exactly. The second reason, proving 10x requires massive mileage and transparency. As we discussed, credibly demonstrating a 10x improvement on injury crashes alone requires roughly 50 million miles of data just to get enough events for a statistically sound analysis.
50 million for injuries.
For airbag deployments, it jumps to approximately 120 million miles. And for serious injury-only crashes, the ones we care most about, you'd need hundreds of millions of miles, closer to 870 million miles, to gather a statistically significant number of events to definitively prove a 10x reduction.
Almost a billion miles again.
Waymo, with its extensive history, has enough miles to show maybe 4 to 9x reductions on several outcomes today. But Tesla's Austin program, still far from those exposure levels, given its relatively small fleet, single-city operation, current supervised status. The current operational scope of Tesla's Robotaxi simply doesn't provide the necessary data exposure yet to credibly demonstrate such a monumental safety improvement within such a short time frame.
So the gap between a projected improvement and statistically provable sustained performance is just enormous.
Enormous. And frankly, a year isn't enough to bridge it for broad urban driving. #B, what could change the calculus?
But what if something changes? What specific factors could potentially accelerate this timeline or make those ambitious claims more believable in the near future?
Yeah.
Is there a path, however narrow, to truly reaching something closer to that 10x target and proving it?
There are a few key variables to watch that could definitely shift the calculus. Maybe not to a full 10x across all domains within a year, but certainly move the needle significantly. The first is scale.
More cars, more miles.
If Tesla can rapidly open more cities for its robotaxi service beyond just Austin and the Bay Area, and critically seamlessly admit private owner cars into the robotaxi network, the total mileage accumulation could compound dramatically. This exponential growth in operational miles would be absolutely vital. Generate the vast amounts of data needed to test those bold safety claims, refine the system at an unprecedented pace.
But there's that regulatory bottleneck, right? The driverless permit.
Crucial detail, yes. Remember, Texas's fresh AV rules still require separate DMV authorization for truly driverless operations. Today's permit is a rideshare TNC license, not a driverless green light. This regulatory hurdle acts as a significant bottleneck that needs to be cleared before that massive scale can truly translate into unsupervised driverless miles.
So getting cars on the road is one thing. Getting them to operate without a human safety driver is another, needing that specific regulatory green light. Okay. What about the software itself? Can version 14 or future iterations really make that much difference?
That's the second factor, model quality. Version 14, with its claimed 10x parameter count, end-to-end neural network architecture, it could indeed help reduce that long tail of challenging edge cases currently tripping up AV systems. We might see fewer awkward, hesitant stops, more fluid, confident, unprotected left turns, overall smoother, more human-like driving in complex scenarios. This would be a significant qualitative improvement, which could lead to a measurable reduction in certain incident types, especially those caused by indecision or unusual scenarios.
Could lead to. But parameter count isn't a guarantee.
No guarantee of real-world crash rate reductions. The model still needs rigorous validation in vastly diverse environments. And finally, the third factor, perhaps most important for public and regulatory acceptance: transparency.
Opening the books on safety data.
If Tesla chooses to publish exposure-matched crash rates, specifically for injury, airbag deployment, serious injury, plus crashes for its robotaxi miles, in a similar fashion to how Waymo does it, then these bold claims would become testable and verifiable by external researchers, by the public.
So they could prove it if they shared the right data.
Without that level of data transparency, it's incredibly difficult for anyone outside the company to rigorously assess the claims, no matter how good the internal data might be. Rapid, transparent scaling alongside significant provable software improvements. Those are the essential ingredients needed for Tesla to move closer to its bold safety claims within any credible timeline, and for those claims to gain wider acceptance. Hashtag FAMI. What to watch next?
So for you, the learner, the person trying to make sense of this incredibly dynamic, complex space, what are the concrete things to keep an eye on to truly track this progress, effectively separate the reality from the ambition?
Look for these critical indicators. They'll be the real barometers of progress. First, with the FSD V14 rollout, does Tesla publish city street safety deltas compared against local human benchmarks? Not just vague highway data versus national averages. That's crucial for credible urban safety claims.
Okay, local benchmarks for city driving. Got it. What's next?
Second, keep a very close eye on regulatory filings in Texas, specifically under Senate Bill 2807. Does Tesla obtain the specific driverless authorization needed to remove the in-car monitors statewide? This will be a huge, undeniable step, marking the transition from supervised beta to truly driverless operations.
If they get that full driverless permit in Texas, that's a very tangible sign of progress. Moving from theory to trusted deployment. What else in terms of concrete data?
Third, watch for transparent incident data. We need robust NHTSA standing general order submissions, any company dashboards providing clear public per mile per outcome crash rates. Ideally with confidence intervals, the gold standard for statistical rigor. This allows for genuine, verifiable comparisons.
Right. Public data we can actually analyze.
Then finally, look for independent studies. Watch for peer-reviewed analyses similar to that landmark 56.7 million-mile Waymo paper, but applied to new cities, new players like Tesla. These independent validations provide crucial third-party scrutiny, help build broader public and scientific trust.
Okay, so local benchmarks, driverless permits, transparent incident data, and independent studies.
Those are the real reality checks. They'll demonstrate actual progress towards a truly safe, scalable, autonomous future, far beyond just internal claims or aspirational statements. Hashtag outro.
We've covered a lot today. From Tesla's bold, rapidly expanding launch in Austin to the intricate, almost mind-bending details of what 10 times safer than a human actually means, and the immense challenge of proving it. It's clear that while the ambition is sky-high, the journey towards widespread, fully autonomous robotaxis is still very much unfolding before our eyes.
Absolutely. Tesla's version cadence in 2025 FSD 12.6 to 13, now teasing 14, represents real, tangible, rapid progress in their AI development. The Austin pilot, undeniably expanding at a blistering pace, covering significantly more ground, demonstrating remarkable agility. But for now, as we've emphasized, it remains a supervised experiment, a highly controlled beta, not yet a full-scale, fully driverless revolution.
The stakes are enormous, not just for the companies, but for all of us. And we're truly witnessing two fundamentally competing visions of autonomy play out in real time. Tesla betting its entire future on an AI-first, camera-only model, aiming for rapid, cost-efficient, truly mass-market deployment by leveraging its existing fleet.
While Waymo, on the other hand, continues down that more methodical, sensor-driven path, prioritizing redundancy, proven safety benchmarks through its multimodal sensor suite. Even if it means slower, more expensive scaling per vehicle, each approach has clear advantages, inherent limitations.
Ultimately, the winner in this unprecedented race, it might be determined less by raw technological superiority in a vacuum and more by who can scale first, who consistently earns and maintains public trust, and who adapts most effectively to the complex, ever-shifting world of regulation. Those non-technical, yet absolutely critical factors.
For now, the picture is clear. Waymo certainly leads in operational safety and maturity. Extensive driverless miles logged, strong commitment to transparent data. Tesla, however, undeniably leads in cost efficiency and the sheer speed of its iteration, which could be a powerful, disruptive advantage if its AI successfully generalizes across varied, complex environments to achieve truly unsupervised operations.
So here's a provocative thought for you to carry with you as you observe this unfolding story. Will 2025 be remembered as the year robotaxis truly turned from a Silicon Valley pitch into a mass market reality, ushering in a new era of mobility? Or will the full promise of being 10 times safer remain an elusive goal for a while longer, still waiting for that breakthrough? And what implications does this unfolding future have for how you view your daily commute, or even the very fabric and design of our cities and communities? We hope this deep dive has given you a clearer, more nuanced lens through which to watch this incredible story unfold, helping you understand the real stakes and the path ahead.